Brendan Rodgers, what's the future for him at Leicester after that destruction yesterday? How good was Forest?
Brilliant.
So
absolutely
good.
Fantastic. Do you know what it looked like to me when you're watching it? It almost seemed that the Leicester players hadn't taken on board just the sheer scale and the magnitude of the occasion, and it looked like, number one, the first box that the Forest lads had ticked over the Leicester lads was their desire rate. They're just their sheer energy, desire and willingness to want to try and win the game. I thought they were absolutely fantastic. It's something we're going to talk about later on in the show about players from lower leagues stepping up into the Premier League. Why we don't see more of them, perhaps why it's not always first port of call for sporting directors and for coaches and for scouts to go and recruit. Why they don't? Because I'm watching a lot of these games and I'm seeing a lot of good players that I think could step up if they were given an opportunity.
Well, I'll tell you what, we'll talk about that after 6, because it's a really, there are some, even at Kidderminster, I mean, talk 6th tier. I was thinking these players have got ability. I was at training on Friday because they've got ability. So could they all, are there more players who could step up? Let's speak to a Leicester fan though, first of all. Danny is a Leicester fan. What do you want to say?
How you doing, guys? You all right?
All good, mate, all good.
I just want to say, I don't know why in the January transfer window that we didn't do anything with the defence. At the end of the day, that's the main problem at the minute with Soyuncu and Amartey. I don't know why we signed Vestergaard.
Well, look, Vestergaard is an interesting one because, look, he's obviously got his strengths, Danny, because he's a giant of a man. Playing in a 4 for him is a problem. Because if you're a progressive team, a team that wants to go and press the game, and you want to and you want to operate on the halfway line, having Vestergaard there can be dangerous for you because he's not the quickest. He takes him. He's just not a quick centre half, and because he's so big, it's a dangerous position. I've never seen Amartey as even a makeshift centre half, Danny. I don't get that one. And Soyuncu is now playing like a speedboat with no driver. He is like literally running here, there, and everywhere. Right, he's going where he shouldn't, and then he bounces out of that challenge into another one, 20 yards to the right. He gets out of that and he goes flying forward 10 yards, and he drops. I ain't got a clue calm down.
I agree with you, and they've had injuries at the back as well, Danny. And I know there was nobody signed in January, and I was surprised as well. So how much of this is down to Brendan? How much is down to a lack of investment, do you think?
I don't think it's down to much Brendan or the investment in the minute. At the end of the day, like, the back of 4 that we've got, now James Justin has come back, he's getting fit and he's going to be a huge part of that back 4. But the thing is, when Johnny Evans is in there, they seem to want to be able to play football. I just don't know what it is when he ain't there.
It's just some authority. It's just a presence. It's just having somebody there that you recognise and you kind of know what they're going to do. You know, again, you don't have to. You don't know, as a centre half, you need to understand the game, read the game, try and sense that bit of danger before it happens, before it's coming, rather than reacting to every bounce of the ball, everything that goes on in and around you. And to me, Leicester at the moment don't have that.
Well, I think that Johnny Evans' injuries have been long-term now, okay? So, and Brendan will know that, and I think to rely on him is, and I feel for him, because, you know, any player who gets injured, you feel for him, because all they want to do is play football. But the reality is, you can't rely on him to be fit for every single game. So they signed Vestergaard. Now, if Brendan wasn't happy with Vestergaard, then he should make that clear and say to the board, well, I didn't want that player. There's been no suggestion he wasn't happy with the signing of the player.
No.
So he wanted that player. That's what we're left to assume. Soyuncu, I've never really rated. I know some Leicester fans have thought, yeah, he's been way better than he is now. But for me, no, I don't think so. So there's been a problem for a long time at centre-back at Leicester City that hasn't been resolved. So if Brendan is saying to the board, no, we have to get a centre-back, and they've spent the last window not getting one, they got Vestergaard in the previous one, is that a lack of communication? Is he totally happy in his role at Leicester? Is it going to be solved at Leicester? Because they do keep conceding goals.
Look, one thing's for sure, and he won't shirk away from that, the manager, that it's his responsibility to get it sorted out. And they are shipping goals, as I mentioned, left, right, and centre, and they have been for a while. This isn't some. I mean, they've had some bizarre results. You and I were at the back in early or in just before Christmas Aid, The 3-3 in the EFL Cup,
Yeah.
the quarter-final.
Yeah.
We were at Anfield that night. They were 3 up in half an hour. They were playing so well. The tie, you're thinking, well, it's done. You're thinking it's all over. And then Minamino scores, equalises last minute. Credit to Liverpool, they never towed it, just kept going. And then they done them on pens. The Spurs game. The Spurs game where they were 2-1 up with, well, like a minute left. And end up not only just drawing the game, end up getting beat in the game. It's like...
You see, with that's a great example, right? How... With Brendan Rodgers, I'm kind of reluctant to say, oh, it's all his fault. He's got to go. He's finished there. He's gone stale. Because you look at that Spurs game, it's gone 2-2, and now that can happen.
Yep.
Spurs were pushing for an equaliser. They got one. But at that point, you do not go and lose the game. How is it Brendan Rodgers' fault that Yuri Tielemans has passed it straight to a Spurs player?
No, you cannot.
It can't be his fault.
You can't. He has to accept responsibility for it. But is it his fault in that moment? No, it's not, because that's just irresponsible play from an experienced boy.
Yeah.
And you can't always account for that. But he's got to get on top of it, and he's got to show signs that he's able to get on top of it. And at the moment, that is not happening. At the moment, I mean, you made a great point just now about the goalie. Why Kasper Schmeichel is left out of the starting team in a game that you know is going to be fiery? You've just seen what they did to Arsenal in the previous round. You know what you're going to be facing at the City ground. Kasper Schmeichel is a top goalkeeper and a top talker and a top organiser. You know, he's one of those, he doesn't leave off from that position. He's always chipping away at the boys in front of him. If you've got a back four that are struggling, I know I'd have him in there. I'd be saying to Danny Ward, Danny, I know you want to play and I want to give you some games, but you're going to have to wait, mate.
Yeah.
You're going to have to sit tight, because he's playing. I need him in there at the moment to keep things right and keep things sorted out. I just found that one a strange one.
Yeah, you're right, especially as they're FA Cup holders. Sam's a Leicester fan. What do you want to say, Sam?
Hi, chaps. All right.
Yeah, all good.
Firstly, I want to start off by saying fair play to Forest. They absolutely battered us, and I think credit needs to go to them.
Yeah, agreed.
Secondly, I think the behaviour of our fans was an absolute disgrace. I think that needs condoning as well. I think it was a shocker. But then on to Brendan Rodgers. Yesterday was the first time I felt an ounce of Brendan Rodgers out. My only concern is, who would we get if we lost Brendan Rodgers? I don't think there's anyone floating around who we could get who would be any better. And yeah, that would be my one concern moving forward, is we wouldn't get better than Brendan Rodgers. He needs to sort that defence out there, that's for sure.
I think it's a great point, actually, when you think about it. And if there are any suggestions, then feel free. Especially if you're a Leicester fan who wants him to go. I think you've got to come up with an alternative. But I would look, is it that bad, really? They won the FA Cup last season. Now, you should still be celebrating that, in my opinion. This is Leicester's first ever FA Cup. That should still be a joyous moment. You should be rewatching that DVD over and over again. They're 10th in the league. They're in no danger of going down whatsoever. Now, they've failed to get in the top four for the last 2 seasons, but been very, very close. So most Leicester fans would have thought, right, next season we'll push on. It hasn't happened. No, but it's Leicester.
It is. Mikel Arteta won a cup with Arsenal, and at the start of this season, they were like in the bottom 3, weren't they, after the first
3 games,
3 games, 3 or 4 games, whatever it was. And everyone was going crazy. They've toughed it out. They rode out the storm a bit. They've got better. They've made a few big decisions, like with Aubameyang, and they look to me now a completely different one than what we saw a few months ago. That things do change. Things can change pretty quickly. But Brendan is revered as a proper football coach. And you're right, Aid. Now he has to show those skills. He's now got to be able to get some direction back in their work, because at the moment they are looking like they're getting beat. They're soft. They're easy to roll over. Some of the players, as I mentioned, deserve to me a little bit more public scrutiny on the way that they're playing, because they're not doing enough. And I think that's something that a coach has to do now and again. You have to leave a bit on them.